Now, Hank doesn't actually play in the first bar of the verse. He waits till the second bar. In fact, there's an eighth note rest at the start of the second bar. So he comes in on the one and. He plays the notes of A and C, which can be found at the 10th fret of the B string, in harmony with C on the 8th fret of the top string. He hits that on the offbeat, on the and, as it were. And on beat 2, he slides them both along, so you maintain that shape and just slide along 2 frets. Okay, so that's 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2. I'll do that without talking this time. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's what we call a double stop. That's a minor third interval, by the way. And that goes over the G chord, which is being played by Bruce down there. One more time, up to speed. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next bar, during which Bruce is playing an E minor chord, Hank stays silent. But then in the next bar, while the E minor is still sounding, he does the same phrase but slightly extends it. So Hank plays. You can no doubt tell that that's the same move that I've just described, so I won't go through it again. But you actually come back down to where you began that phrase, but then here's the new bit. You go down to a major third interval. The notes of G and B, which are found at the 8th fret of the second string, and in harmony with B on the first string, 7th fret. And that's surely the preferable fingering. Fingers 3 and 1. Retain that as you move along, then back, then change the fingering to fingers 2 and 1. That phrase slowly, remember you come in after the 1 on the and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Even slower. 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, the following bar, in which Bruce returns to a G chord, Hank doesn't play once again. Pause for thought. What happens is we get a chord and then an answering phrase. Then a chord, then an answering phrase, and so on. This is what happens in the verse. Okay, let's continue. After the bar of G, in which Hank doesn't play, then he does the exact same phrase that I just showed you. Okay, I've already described that, so let's move on. The next time that you hear an E minor chord, Hank does something new. He plays a fragment of it. It may help for me to show you an E minor at the 7th fret, as I'm doing right now. That's an E minor chord. Looking like an A minor, isn't it? Looking like an A minor. Now, Hank doesn't use that fingering. However, my point is, he uses those 2 notes, which he would surely play with those 2 fingers. So you've got, isn't it natural that you land on those 2 notes? The notes of E and G, 9th fret of the G string, 8th fret of the B string. So that phrase resolves as follows. Remember, you can add some subtle vibrato as you wish, or of course as Hank played. In the next bar, there's no gap, he actually plays this. Once again, I'm showing you the E minor chord, and it's strings 4 and 3, both at the 9th fret. That definitely has a bit of vibrato there. And that lasts for 3 beats. Let's put that phrase together. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. After which point, Bruce does those rate strums, which I may quickly show you. So this would be on acoustic guitar. I don't think Hank plays along with this, I'm quite sure, it's just Bruce. It goes a 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, hold it right there. I do believe Bruce would have been playing a bar chord there. So if I show you an E shape, G chord at the 3rd fret, I'll show you 2 options. The first option is to play a bar G at the 3rd fret, like so, which means it's quite straightforward to go to a D7 like so. That, it may help to know, is rather like a C7 chord, but up 2 frets of course. For clarity, that's finger 3 on the 5th fret of the 5th string, finger 2 on the 4th fret of the 4th string, the little finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and finally first finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and you do the same rhythm. Here's G and D7. 1, 2, 3, 4, rest. Back to a G with regular strumming. Remember that jing, 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 jing. I asserted that Bruce would have been playing a bar chord. In hindsight, perhaps he was doing an open position. Now, I won't take anything for granted, I won't assume you know these, but you probably do. An open G chord, fingered like that, or possibly like that, or like that. Going to a D7. Once again, with the rhythm I've just described, slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, rest. Rest. Okay. Then there's a G chord, then a C chord. Then Hank joins in. I've listened to the record carefully. Hank joins in back on the G, and now he's playing staccato eighths. I would imagine that he would have been here. I've already just shown you the G chord as a bar E shape there. And I believe that Hank just kind of strummed along. There's a lot of instrumentation on the record, as you can hear. There's a lot of reverb, and of course Cliffy's singing. So Hank is just bolstering it up underneath. So if you see my right hand here, picking all downstrokes, as Hank would often do, but staccato, which means short and detached. I'll count you in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eighth notes, as in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I do believe that he carries on in that fashion for the remainder of the verse, which is a bar of G, a bar of D7, a bar of G, and then a split bar, by which I mean 2 beats of C and 2 beats of D, which could be here. C as an A shape, and then D 2 frets higher. He's unlikely to have played all the strings. It was probably just something like this, forming the shape, as you can see, but probably just hitting strings 5, 4, and 3. I'm well aware, as you probably are, that you could try other positions. You could go G there, C there, and D there. Let me clarify that. So this is what I'm asserting that would work for this song. G as a C shape. The reason I'm showing you this is, remember the other parts were here, so it makes sense that Hank may have stayed in this position. So G as a C shape, little finger at the 10th fret of the 5th string, 3rd finger at the 9th fret of the 4th string, index finger at the 7th fret of the 3rd string, 2nd finger at the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and that could possibly end up as a partial bar, even if we don't hit the top strings. Not playing the bottom string there. So there's a G as a C shape. The C would be the bar E shape, which you're probably familiar with, and of course D would be 2 frets higher. Okay, that concludes our look at the verse. Concerning the second verse of The Young Ones, it's pretty much as before, as in the first verse, and Hank indeed does play the same licks. He doesn't play them exactly the same way, but it's more or less the same thing. I trust you find that acceptable.